My name is Karen Lavi, and I'm so excited to be here today. Day of Security is such a great initiative bringing more gender diversity into the cybersecurity field, and I am so grateful that I work for a company that not only knows it, but also tries to do something actively about it, like being a premier sponsor for this day. Okay, so for today, I decided to step outside of my comfort zone, and instead of talking about technical things, I want to share with you my journey of how I got into cybersecurity and hopefully show you that you can also do it. So let me start by telling you a bit about myself. Actually, I'll start with talking about a friend of mine. Do you know those people that always knew what they want to do when they grow up? This friend is like this. Ever since we were in the fifth grade, she said that she wanted to be a singer. Well, not exactly a singer. She said that she wants to be an opera singer. I know it's kind of weird, but anyways, guess what she's today? Yep, she's an opera singer. And I was not like this. I did not know what I wanted to be when I grow up. And it's not like I didn't have a passion for something. I did. And I was super into it until I switched it to another thing and another thing and another thing. But let me be honest with you. Growing up, I never said I want to be a cybersecurity researcher. And yet, here I am today. I'm even managing a team of security data scientists and researchers at Microsoft. So how did I get here? Let me walk you through my journey. So my weird accent is because I was born and raised in Israel, right outside of Tel Aviv. I got my first computer when I was 8, and I was so curious about it that I decided to major in programming in high school. And when I started my mandatory military service, I made my first step into the security world. I served in a technological unit in the information security team, where I coded solutions to better secure the endpoints and the data within them. After my military service, I decided to stay in security and go and switch into the mindset of a hacker and be a penetration tester. Those are the people that are trying to break things, but they're doing it in a good way before the bad people come and helping the companies secure their products. After taking all of this knowledge, I decided to move to the other side, the blue side, and worked on writing cybersecurity solutions to protect the biggest credit card company against fraud and security attacks. While I was working in cybersecurity, I also started my undergrad in psychology. I was always very passionate about the human behavior and always wanted to understand what drives us to do the things that we do. One of the courses I took was about psychobiology, and it talked about the underlying neuronal mechanisms to control our behavior. This was just fascinating to me. And during class, I was one of those really, really annoying people that would just keep on asking questions. And outside of class, I just kept on reading more and more about it. And the passion to study more how the brain works led me to leave my day job in cybersecurity and go do a PhD in neuroscience. Now, that's the story I tell in job interviews, but I feel like I can share with you that that was not the only reason that I left cybersecurity. It was really fun to try to get into random accounts of biggest companies and banks and by using blind SQL injections and stuff like this, but I did not feel that it was the right place for me. I was the only female on my team, and that was really uncomfortable. I just didn't belong there, and I even didn't want to belong to this boy club. So even though I really loved what I was doing, I just decided to leave and never look back, and I never thought I would go back. So I packed my bags, I moved to Switzerland, and I started my 4 years of PhD. And my research was completely different in brain, trying to understand how experiences shape the way that we perceive the world. In my PhD, I was recording the activity of neurons from living mice while they were being exposed to different experiences, and I looked at the brain and tried to see how then the brain reacts to different stimuli. This research was really, really hard. I would spend days in a dark room all by myself, looking through a microscope, searching for neurons. And if the microscope wasn't aimed correctly or configured correctly, or if the animal moved or something else did not work, the entire day would go to waste and I would just have no data. There were so many things that could have failed, break, or just did not work. And it happened a lot. Every time I had to come up with a new solution. Finally, after 4 years, I got all the data that I needed and I published my paper. After all this work, I was really expecting to feel this overwhelming sense of fulfillment, but I didn't. In academia, you dive so deep into such a narrow area that it is sometimes really hard to see what it's the impact that it has on the world. So while I was not sure how much these 4 years helped anyone, I did know that it helped me a lot. They helped me to build resilience and the ability to solve problems and overcome obstacles that I faced along my way. And they also taught me that I really love using my computational background to gain insights from big data. So I was wondering, what else can I do with the power of data that will have a more meaningful impact in the world? So I found this summer fellowship called Data Science for Social Good. And I went and spent 3 months in Chicago working together with a bunch of other folks using data science and machine learning to solve problems like how to identify sophomore students that are at a risk of not graduating from high school, or how to optimize ambulance dispatch. After the fellowship, even though I already had secured a postdoc position in a really good lab, I just didn't feel that my heart was there. My heart was in data science. So I decided to be my authentic self and just speak to my professor and tell him that. I was really lucky because he really understood me, and together we reshaped my role. And instead of doing the traditional postdoc where I would do similar research to what I did during my PhD, I joined the lab as the first resident data scientist and helped other researchers that don't have all the same computational background like I do to build the models to analyze and gain insights from their data. It was an amazing experience, and I worked on a lot of different amazing projects. Some of them are still happening now, and I'm so happy I could contribute to them. But I think that the data science for social good really ruined it for me, because after you work on solving real problems that really impact people's life, it's really hard to go back to basic research in academia. So I knew I wanted to use data science to solve real problems, but I did not know in which domain. And I started networking and learning what exists out there. I was going to tons of meetups, getting a lot of free food, conferences, and talking to whoever I could. One of my friends offered me to come with them to the Microsoft Blue Hat conference. I was a bit hesitant. I mean, cybersecurity is not really an option. I was already there. I didn't like it. And it's just I'm just going to see the same boys club all over again. So why even bother? But I looked at the agenda and I saw this workshop called Black Hoodie Intro to Reverse Engineering. And it said there in parentheses, entrance for only those that identify as females. I did not know what Black Hoodie was back then, and I was intrigued. I don't know if you've ever been to a Black Hoodie workshop, but it's kind of like this conference. It is amazing. I was not prepared for it. It was pre-pandemic, so it wasn't virtual. I walked into a room and it was full with women. And the crazy part, there was a woman that was delivering the workshop. And that also woman started by telling what she's doing for her day job. And she said that she's using data science and machine learning to stop cyber threats. And my heart just started racing. I'm like, oh my God, this is both of the things that I like. I have to talk to that person. So during break, I went to talk to her. And she introduced me to her manager, which is also a woman. So I sat to chat with the manager, and after 30 minutes of intense questioning from my side of what exactly they're doing and what's the culture like, I asked a very rude question. Are you looking for people to join the team? And she smiled, and 2 weeks later, I came to an interview on the site, and a month later, I started on the team. I was really, really lucky that I signed up for this workshop and met all of those inspiring women, because if it was not for that, I can guarantee you that I would never have even thought about going back to security. So 3.5 years ago, I started on the team. And when I just first started, I thought, oh my God, they made a huge mistake. I mean, okay, I wasn't the only woman anymore. There were other females, but still, I was quite different than the rest. Most of them were not only working in cybersecurity for many, many years, but also specifically on malware analysis. I got so panicked. I just didn't think I have much to contribute. I mean, sure, yes, I worked in cybersecurity a bit many, many years ago, nothing related to malware analysis, but most of my life I did a bunch of other things. But I quickly learned that doing all those other things was not a disadvantage. And in fact, this non-trivial path that I took and the experiences and the things that I learned along the way, those are all my superpowers. So I did not let my lack of experience deter me. The opposite, it motivated me. I tried to ask as many questions as I can, being my curious person, and dove really deep into understanding not just how things work, but why. When I approach people that ask the question like, why is it working this way? And they gave me the answer of like, I don't know, that's the way it always worked. I didn't give up until I understood why. I thought that my constant questioning would actually get on people's nerves, but the opposite. I just got more responsibility and increased my scope and increased the ownership of my work. And I became a tech lead and then eventually getting to build my own team. So when I built my team, I knew that I wanted them to have the same curiosity, same challenging of the status quo mentality that helps me to be successful. I did not look for people that worked for other cybersecurity companies and that did the exact same things like we're doing. Instead, I looked for people that are coming from different backgrounds with different skill sets that worked on completely different problems so they can have a fresh perspective and not just iterate on the same existing solutions. I wanted a diverse team because I knew that diversity is a superpower. How did I know that? So, I didn't invent this concept of diversity and the importance of it. As a matter of fact, evolution did. There is this concept in evolution called genetic diversity. And what it means is that it's the different variety of the genes. And populations that have higher genetic diversity are those that will adapt better to environmental changes and survive. A great example, she's not here, but if we look at dogs, I have a dog, I was looking to see if she's around. Purebred dogs like German Shepherds or French Bulldog or Pugs, they have significantly shorter lifespan than those of mixed breeds because the gen diversity that makes mutts less susceptible to genetic diseases and complications. And those that are purebred are just have the same genes. Now, taking off my biology hat and putting on my data scientist hat, we also know the importance of diverse data sets when we train machine learning models. If I'm trying now to create a supervised computer vision model to distinguish between animals, but I only give it samples of dog images of German Shepherds and Great Danes, it will think that my fluffy golden doodle is a sheep. Actually, a lot of people also think this way. Okay, so diversity is important for evolution and for correctly identifying animals. But why is a diverse team a superpower for solving problems? Let's go back to my PhD. So my PhD was in neuroscience, and I wanted to understand how experiences change the way that the brain processes new information. Now, let's take it outside of the mice and the lab, and let's talk about what happens in our brain. Each experience that we encounter leaves a trace in our brain, and this trace is now revising the way that our neurons communicate with each other. And since each one of us is having different experience throughout life, our traces are different, which makes our brain different. And that makes our brain function differently. And it makes us see and process the world slightly different. So my team is not just gender diverse, though we are 40% women, but also diverse in every other possible sense. The folks on my team come from different backgrounds, different countries, and different life experiences. We're all born and raised in different parts of the world: Israel, China, India, Nepal, Ethiopia, Canada, and some are even from the US. The people on the team also have diverse educational backgrounds. Some studied math and statistics, electrical engineering, robotics, oceanography, accounting, and so on. They also have very diverse professional background and did a lot of different variety of things before they joined the team, like evaluating autonomous vehicles or investigating marine larval dispersal. And one of them was even a chocolatier before joining the team. So we are 10 people. We're all very different from one another. And this diversity is what is allowing us to think differently on problems and use innovative ways to build new solutions. Let me tell you about one new innovative security solution that we're working on. So just for context, my team is working on the Microsoft Defender for Endpoints, the anti-malware product. We build the logic that protects people from executing malware that can harm their device, steal their data, or encrypt it and demand money for it. Stopping malware is like playing guacamole. I don't know if you've ever played it, but it's like kind of fun. The bad actors write new malware, and we write new ways to find it, and then they write new malware, and we find new ways to catch it. And traditionally, the way that anti-malware products used to work is that once we discovered new malware out there in the wild, we would analyze it and then write signatures that would identify it and block it from now on. But since there is so much new malware that is being released every day, being reactive is just not enough. Not only that some devices would get compromised, we just could not keep up. Today, there are more than 500,000 new malware samples that are being released to the wild. This is insane. So a few years ago, we started utilizing the power of machine learning, and we wrote logic that can predict in real time if a file that is trying to run is malware or not, the first time we ever see it. However, when we started using prediction, as you probably know, there are two types of problems that we started introducing. Well, one of them already existed before, and it is the false negative problem. This is when we don't identify that this is a malware file and we miss blocking it, so it compromises the device. This is called false negative. The second type of problem is called false positive. It's when we thought that the file was malware and we stopped it, but it wasn't really malware. So when we build prediction models, we need to balance between the two. We're trying to minimize as much as possible the mistakes of missing malware, but without being too aggressive and causing too much distraction and bad experience from blocking benign files. Now, interestingly, these two problems of FPs and FNs, false negatives and false positives, impact different type of users and in different type of ways. The false positive, we'd heard sophisticated, tech-savvy users like developer, the ones that would download those shady tools or even write their own script. And they would have a bad experience if the antivirus prevents them from running these. However, most of the users, not only that they're not going to download the new version of Ping proxy as soon as it comes out, they will also never install the important Windows security update that has been popping on their screen for the last 10 days. Those users that are like my mom are also the ones that don't know how to make the right security decisions. And they can very easily be manipulated to click on a link in an email that says, hey mom, click here to see the photos from last weekend. So when we try to build security product that suits everyone, we will end up to have the balance and compromise between the type of mistakes that we are willing to make. If we balance towards being aggressive and not compromising on stopping all malware, we are just going to hurt the tech-savvy users. But it might not be a problem for users like my mom. So traditional endpoint protection products are focused on finding malware and stopping it. And this is where my team came in. Instead of identifying malware, we went off the beaten path and built a new product that is focused on identifying the safe and trusted apps and files. This is completely opposite of how traditional anti-malware solutions worked. So in this product, we're only allowing files and apps that are safe to run, and everything else will be blocked. And also, using the data that we have, we are able to understand what type of user you are, and then change the protection model based on that. So you will have the best protection and experience that meets your needs. This feature is called Smart App Control, and it will be available for everyone at the end of this year with the next Windows 11 release. And I don't know if you hear it in my voice, but I'm so proud of my team. And as I mentioned before, most of them were not even doing anything related to cybersecurity 2 years ago. They came from completely different career paths, bringing their own experiences and skill sets. But they had curiosity and they had desire to keep on learning and passion for helping customers. And we had an environment that encouraged different ways of thinking. And that all enabled us to build this innovative solution. So going back to you, I assume that many of you want to get into cybersecurity. And they're worried that you might not have the right background, the experience, or certificates, and you might think that because of that, you can't. So I hope that after hearing this story about me and my team, you will be able to look at your path in a more compassionate way and differently, and think that not only that you're not at a disadvantage, but that your unique path is your superpower. And I invite you all, I'm going to post now in the chat, to apply for our team, because we're looking for superheroes like you that come from different things and have different ways to think about solving problems. And I'm also going to post my LinkedIn. If you're not worried what's your unique superpower, happy to help you find it. Thank you.